Hello folks, in this video I wanted to go over how you could get some data. Perhaps you're a school, you're getting some assessment data and you are receiving it in this kind of a format, and you would like to get an output that looks more like this kind of format, and in which we are taking all of our campuses and we have this what we call a wide format. We have campus 1 with all subpopulation 1, subpopulation 2, and our groups A, B, C, D. And what we really want to do is get an output that looks like this with our campus 1, with our all subpop 1, subpop 2, and get those numbers. So our first step that we need to do with this process is to first move this data that we have here, our wide data, and I want it to become tall data. Now, I've already done that here, and I've done that with a single formula, and I think what I'll do is go ahead and just quickly copy that formula, just so we can see that. And then what I want to do is come here and just show you, if we just go ahead and paste that formula here, we should be able to get that same exact information that we have over here, this tall data. And what we're doing with this, if we can focus in a little bit, we can see that we are taking an array literal here to build my header. We're not going to use this, but I just wanted headers when I built this. So we're going to have our campus, our population, our group, and our score. And then this is the meat of the split flatten function that takes this data set, and you can see what we're doing is grabbing first the input A4 to A6. So what I'm doing here is grabbing my campus information, and then I am grabbing the next section, which is B2 to M2. I am now grabbing all of these. So I'm first, let me see if I do this. You can see this formula here. I'm grabbing, I'm going to hide this. I'm grabbing this set of data, and I'm inserting a character, and I'm grabbing this set of data, the A4 to B or to A6, B2 to M2. Then we're grabbing B3 to M3. So I'm grabbing this with a character, and this with a character, and this with a character, and then I'm grabbing all of this, the input B4 through M6. I'm grabbing all of the data, and then I'm flattening that data, and then I'm splitting that outcome on my character, which it happens to be this. And when I do that, I am building this tall data. Now, I don't really want my tall data in my output. So what I'm doing on my output sheet, and I'll call this sheet 3, I'm taking that data set that we have, and I'm actually wrapping it. If I scroll in here a little bit, I believe I could maybe get this a little closer. We can look and see. I have a curly bracket around this formula because what I'm doing is building an array with all of that data. And then I'm querying the array with selecting column 4, which is the output of the numbers, where column 1 is equal to A2 and column 2 is equal to B2. And when we do that, we are querying and we're getting a row of data, but we're actually getting a column of data, so we transpose it. So that's what that formula does. Now, in the final outcome of this, what the user really wanted was the ability, or I suggested that maybe what you would want to do, you have your input, and we can go ahead and get rid of this formula now. I just was demonstrating that. I think I'll go ahead and do a Command-Shift-Right and delete all these extra columns. and then I don't need all this other data here, so I'll just do a Command Shift down and delete all my extra rows, delete those rows. So I'm just looking at this data set here, and I want to get this output. I'm using sheet 3, which is basically very similar to sheet 2, but I'm just using this because I'm wanting to grab my, this formatting in my script, because I'm going to use a script. And let me show you, if I select all this data and delete it and get rid of the formatting, that's a Command \, you can delete all formatting. So I've got this empty sheet here, and I have in my app script, I actually have a menu called Utilities, and I'm going to convert data. And so if this data set that you had was constantly changing, and you wanted to create and have an output on any kind of a regular basis, you could run your utilities, convert data, and what's going to happen is my script, and the script is going to run, and the script is going to take and copy the data from the input, copy it in the way we want it here to the output, and go ahead and bring that back and format it so that your output with a click of a button is what you're after. The tall data isn't necessary. I put that in here so that you could see how this particular formula works to convert tall, wide to tall, and then I'm using that with an array literal in my actual output here. Now, how did I get these in here? Let's take a look at the script. I want to bring this script over. It's on a different window here. I want to just go over this real quick. So here's my script, and I've got an on-open script. Spreadsheet app.getUI, create a menu, utilities, convert data is my menu item, and then we're running a function called convert data. Well, what is convert data doing? Well, first of all, we have a constant get the SS, get the spreadsheet, with the active spreadsheet, and then we're identifying sheet 1, which is input, sheet 2, which is output, sheet 3, which is sheet 3, and then we're getting the headers. So the headers, the constant headers, is sheet 3 get range A1 to B10 get values. So we're getting the values of A1 to B10. We're actually getting all of those values. That's the headers. Then we're pasting, so basically that's columns A and B that have the data in it. Then we're pasting those headers into sheet 2. Then we're getting the columns, so I need that A, B, C, D. So we're going to sheet 3, we're getting C1 to F1, we're getting A, B, C, D, getting the values. We're pasting those values into sheet 2. And then we want these formulas, because the formulas are on sheet 3, C2 to C10. Those are the formulas, and let's stop and take a look at that. Well, it's that formula we looked at, the transpose query array formula. That's in C2 and C2, C3, and so forth. So we're getting those formulas with AppScript. Then in sheet 3, we're simply activating A1 to F10. That's all of the range that we're working with. We're setting the active sheet as the output. Then we're getting the range of sheet 3, A1 to F10. We're copying that to sheet 2, same location, and what we're copying isn't the data, we're copying the format. And then finally, we copied the format. We've got bringing all our colors to that output sheet. And sheet 2 get range C2 to C10. And again, let's come back and look at that. C2, C3, C4 basically are pulling in all of the same data. The difference is they're looking at these over here, so you could see this formula is select column 4 where column 1 equals A2 and column 2 equals B2. This is where it's equal to A3 and B3 and so forth. This formula can be copied down. You write it once here, copy it down, and then it's going to pull all this data that is here and bring it back as this output. And we're doing all that at this point with an app script. Let me run through that one more time. I'm going to delete my output data, command \, get rid of my formatting, go ahead and run the script. And the script, as you saw how that works, it pulls in column A and B, it pulls in C1 through F1, then it simply formats the colors the way we want, and then it pastes the formulas, the last thing, and then when these formulas are in here, we're pulling that data across. So using a combination of the wide to tall function and an array literal that you can see here, that's the curly bracket defining this tall data. Another way to do this is to have this tall data available and have that be what you're going ahead and querying, but this way I don't need to have this tall data here at all because I'm just building a literal array of that data, and I'm then querying it, and of course then transposing it so that the data comes across in these rows instead of columns. And again, the other piece we had with that was taking a look at how we're using AppScript to automate that function for us.